Greetings, my fellow Stationeers with slight lung damage. Rodamon here. Thank you for tuning in to Stationeers Brutal Vulcan. Episode 23. Installing a Cryotube for healing organ damage. Now let's do oxygen. No? So we're going to run this oxygen line out. And it's going to be ugly, but functional. That's how my wife describes me. Oh, man. And the reason for 3 is just faster than 1. 1 would change the temperature, would equalize the temperature between the coolant and what you're heat exchanging with slower. So that's why I went with triple. You could have gone, it's just what fit, I guess. There we go. We got our oxygen hookup. Now we can start to do vols. And you can see, anytime I pick one up, I replace it before continuing. Alright, at this point, that trader is probably interrogated. And the silicon is maybe done smelting. Yep, silicon's done. And traders only stick around for like 20 minutes. As you can see, this one's 14 minutes, this is 17 minutes. So like, you know, if you spend all the power interrogating it, call them in before they leave. Once they're like on your landing pad, they'll stick around. You kind of like maroon them until you depart. But this will be a bigger craft because this is the first 5x5 we're calling in. So this is the Void Visions 5x5, which is the largest craft we can accommodate in our current landing pad. So, you want 83 cable coils at 40 cents a pop, electronic parts at 1, gold at 2. Gold is worth doing. Maybe even the cable coils. I can make some money here. And then in terms of buy, it's going to be like boring stuff. Microwave, reagent, process. Yeah. Stupid stuff. Nothing I really care about. So gold and cable coils. Not bad. I have only 1 cable coil, so it makes sense to like print a whole bunch and then give him some. Let's do that. So here's the gold I'll just have on me. I'll sell 75 of that to him. I forget if you have to stack it separately. I don't remember, but we're about to find out. Alright, and then the rest of the silicon becomes pipes. Some of them, at least. If I had a stacker, I could measure the gold, but I hope he just takes what he's asked for and not more. Well, we'll see. Don't forget to move the radiators. Yes, I will need to do that. You are absolutely correct. Also, this filter's probably dead. It is. My suit filter's almost dead, too. I almost have the 80 whatever that they want. It's probably enough pipes. Yep, definitely enough. Okay, now all three of the gases I have in storage are now cooled with CO2 coolant that runs without like a temp shock heat dump pipe. Nice. Alright. I think I'm gonna need to hydrate, but let's measure some temps here. So these two should equalize pretty quickly. Oxygen and coolant has basically equalized. CO2 and coolant has equalized. Everything's equalized. All the ACs are on. So these radiators can get removed, as can the ones on the volatiles. And as a result of removing these, and let me fix up the piping because it looks silly. As a result of removing these, the temperature of the base should not fluctuate as harshly, because there's nothing I'll fix up the carbon dioxide one too. There's nothing dumping heat in high volumes into the base anymore. I think I'll trade and then hydrate, because I'd like to call in the other trader. Trying to make money so I can buy seeds. I'm like planning ahead. I guess that doesn't work that way. Okay. You only want to take it through a vending machine, I suspect? Because I can't move these at all.
Temperature critical.
No, I didn't mean to open my helmet.
Critical. Oxygen critical. Temperature high.
How to kill self. Oh, okay. Here we go. 83. Self. I'm not blacking out, right? I don't think. Maybe I am. It's getting dark, Mr. Stark. I can't tell. I could have done the electronic parts, but like I did the easier trades. Bing from a buck. Interrogating the other one, and then I'm going to ask them to land. I'm definitely going to want to make a lung pill at some point, because or a cryopod, because I've been doing a little bit of self-harm here. It doesn't feel good. Do I need a second waste tank with vents? No, not really. I'm not exactly sure what you mean, but I think the answer is probably no. What do you want? Nope, don't want to do anything there. Good part. Alright, my credit card has 500 on it. This is pretty good. Let's go tend to the food and water. And then you guys can vote on next priority. So, let me take the... I'm going to adjust some of these. Okay, there we go.
Hydration critical.
I know, I'm hydrating. Actually, there's one other that I want to do, is to build a cryopod. Okay. New poll. There it goes. Cryopod or med pill? Med pill's going to be a little easier. Cryopod, maybe a little cheaper. So for those that don't know, a cryopod is like a healing pod. It's like a stasis pod for the player, which you would primarily use in like multiplayer servers, because on Stationeer difficulty in multiplayer, you don't recover, like your suit, you have to be in like an oxygenated room to survive. Otherwise you're like subject to suffocate or dehydrate or whatever. Your character dies, like even when you're logged off. So that's the whole purpose of the cryopod. But the way the cryotube works is you print it up, you feed it with the required like inputs, you know, like oxygenated gas, waste gas, etc. And then you can like go in it and heal, or go into stasis or whatever. But for my purposes, it's effectively a healing pod. Because my body is a little because I opened up my helmet. All right, fern seeds are all good to go. So I'm going to replace the second row potatoes with ferns. Possibly also the third. Oop, there was only one potato there. Low yield, huh? I like to remove the plants entirely, just for the visuals of them growing, so I can just glance and check. Technically, you don't have to. Like, if you harvest it to one, it will, like, go to seeding again, I think. But I always do it this way, because there's, like, a better visual indication of growth. Well, if anyone needs a potato supplier, I got a lot of potatoes and not that much hunger. So I'm always going to want to keep like a row or column, however you want to measure, of potatoes. So I have food, but obviously the ferns are far more efficient at making oxygen. So now this greenhouse is churning oxygen. I've probably more than doubled or tripled the amount of oxygen this thing makes because of the ferns. I think tripled is a reasonable estimate. I could do the math, but the math is a little weird it's kind of impossible to do without measuring, because each plant has a variable efficiency. No two plants are identical. And it actually reminds me of a goal to make, which is to start to genetically engineer better plants. That's a possibility. I don't love it. I will add, because it's kind of a passive goal that you work in the background, because you have to wait for an entire generation of plants for the needle to move. So it's a slow goal. But you could. I mean, I've done it in game. It's just kind of trial and error and sometimes annoying. Okay, it looks like I should work on a cryopod. Before I do the cryopod, let me check up on my own needs. So oxygen, carbon dioxide, volatiles are all about the same temp. I'm surprised the volatiles aren't more equalized. I mean, they're only 1 degree off. I guess I just have more of them. Yeah, the carbon dioxide and everything else is the correct temp. So, at some point, I'll stop pulling in fresh CO2 every night, and then we'll make more progress on bringing it down to room temperature. The reason why it hasn't is every night I'm pulling in atmospheric CO2, which is quite hot. And, wow, I'm still not done with all the steam? That's probably because my my water coolant line, yeah, is too hot. And that's because this thing was off! So, see, this is why you sometimes just need to walk around and check to make sure. Trust but verify, to make sure everything is as you hope it to be. And in this case, it wasn't, and I wasn't making water because my water coolant tank got hyperheated and not cooled. CO2 filters. The CO2 filter, yeah, let me print some up. That's a good idea. My suit's dead. I'm down to 1 filter in my suit and 0 filters for the CO2 filter. I haven't bothered to go to medium filters. They would last a lot better, and I would fully understand the argument of going to medium filters for both O2 and CO2. I just haven't yet. Alright, the farm is pressurized. It's 87. Could be a little higher. The base is pretty low pressure, so I'm going to flood the base with some CO2. Just to bring the pressure up a little bit more, so that the pressure between my suit and the base is about equal. Which did take all the CO2 that I had in storage, so I'm now going to start pulling fresh CO2. As you can see, the temperature of the CO2 that I'm pulling in is pretty cool. It's pulling in from a 158 source, and it's already down to 57. That's how fast the this coolant loop is working. Pretty good. Pretty solid stuff. And because of the way this is designed, the system, if my CO2 warms up, it warms up my coolant, which then will warm up my O2 and volatiles, which is sort of by design. Because what I really need is my O2 and my volatiles to be the same temperature for fuel mixing for an advanced furnace. So it's actually kind of handy that, like, when one warms up, they both warm up. Everything warms up to the same temperature. Okay. So, cryopod. A cryopod, or cryotube, is a tier 2 hydraulic pipe bender. So, first stage is I gotta get a kit for that, because I don't even have the kit. I need the mod. So pipe bender mod, we need electrum, constant, and solder. Running low on electrum. Got it. That one's probably the... Well, solder and electrum are both equally pretty easy to make here on Vulcan, because they don't really require gas mixing or anything. Okay, there we go. So now my steam tank should be emptying out. Yeah, it is emptying out and turning into water. Now, the other thing is, realistically... Oh, wow, we already have 4 liters of water. Realistically, I could have the water cooled the same way as everything else. With a, instead of heat exchanger of gas to gas, do a heat exchanger gas to liquid. That could be a future project. Because I'm still cooling my water by using the base's air as a heat sink, which I want to move away from. I just thought that was slightly out of scope with what I was, the project I'm doing right now. But I think the way to do that would be to have the water on this side of the volume pump be the heat exchange side, so that I flush in temperate water into the system. That's probably the way to do that. But I can add that to the poll for a later poll. So I'll add that now. So right now I'm working on the cryopod. What was the other thing I had mentioned that I could do? I'm trying to remember. A future rad project? Exactly. Okay, so now that we have that, I might as well do the autolathe one. Because then I have all 4 done. Doesn't make sense to have 3 and then 1 left not done. So I'm making the autolathe mod. So we want a Cryotube, which is gold, copper, steel, silver. Oops. And most of those materials are... well, the steel is being used, but the other materials are in that printer. Doing a little battery swapping. Making an extra swap battery. Funny enough, I made one and then I used it. So I could make another, but the value is not... I don't see the value in that in the moment. Alright, all the steam went through the network. Right now, the base has 5.4 liters of water available to it. Granted, that water is frighteningly hot. And another 1/10 of a liter ready to be flushed in. So, yeah, 5.5 liters of water. Doing all right with for water. Not bad. All right, so here's the autolathe mod. Cool. So now we have all the printers up to mod 2. And this thing needs no solder, so I'll put it away. It needs steel. So yeah, all that tier 1 alloys I can put away. At this point, I probably have enough power to just keep these on, because they don't turn on as fast as the tier 1 do. They have to, like, spool up or whatever. I'm not going to bother with the tools, because I don't interact with it enough. So here's the Cryotube. So a Cryotube can heal players and their organs, as well as revive dead players. The Cryotube functions as a sleeper, has a gas input, a power input, and a data input. For healing, you need a breathable mix of air. Pure O2 will work at room temperature, which I don't have yet. It's not between 0 and 30 yet. That will happen once the... let's make sure we only make one of those. That will happen once the heat exchangers work, you know, once these things are done. It's close. 44 Celsius, but it needs to be down to 30. Which will be done eventually with all the ACs that I got running. And then we are going to want to have a way to filter out the CO2 from it. And yeah, we're going to be putting it in the living area, obviously. So, them's the goal. Do I want a separate power bank for the tube? That is an interesting consideration. One thing that we could do, because the tube only takes 10 watts, so I see where you're coming from. The thing is, I don't, due to its super low power needs, like, I don't think that there's a situation where we brown out and we can't revive, or if there is, the act of browning out kills us anyway, so it's kind of moot. We're probably going to want a vertical tube rather than a horizontal one. Just for space. In order to build the tube itself, I don't think that there's any other construction requirements. I think it's just install. The trouble is, I'm not sure where to physically put it. Where it's, like, not annoying. So, we have an oxygen line literally right there. So, spinning it around so that it can connect to that oxygen line would be ideal. So let's remove the cable out from the middle of the room. So we have a little bit more build flexibility. And after I do this... Oh wait, that is blocked by the fridge. Oh, stupid. After we do this, we need to make sure that all of our ACs are not, like, borked. Because sometimes when you cycle power, it turns off ACs. So that's still running, and I'll check the other ACs later. Oh, while I'm standing in here, I definitely don't need to be wearing my suit. It's one of the advantages of being in this area. So I'll put the Cryotube there. Oh, and I need plastic sheets. Okay. I might want to move the active vent for oxygen, like, towards me 1 unit, so it's easier. Well, we'll see. I'll build it and then we'll see. The other thing is, like, constantly stepping on the spawn point is getting annoying. So maybe we... There. I hope that works. We'll see. So water has been dealt with. Let's deal with food, and then we'll go back out there. I do think... Oh, yep. Where I have it now makes the microwave a little bit annoying to use, so I might move the table in the microwave. So let's do that now. Because where it is here works, like I have access to the water, which is fine. I just don't want to block. So that'll work if I can pick up the microwave. I'm like risking claying. I probably just... Microwave's probably outside now. Yep. I deserve that. Well, I'm gonna have to go fetch my microwave from Vulcan and hope that it didn't eject into, like, a lava pit or something. Well, I guess I'll find out in a minute. Okay, so we need plastic sheets. What is the rest? Plastic sheets and glass sheet. Got it. I already have the glass, so I just need the plastic. Cool. And that time spent unsuited, actually, my hygiene got fixed. My lungs still suck, but, you know, we're working on that. Okay, so we got the plastic and the glass we need to actually build the thing. Let's try to get the microwave. Also, probably need to stop filtering CO2. That's still on like a analog manual system that I need to physically turn off myself, or I like risk exploding stuff. And I don't like to explode my base. Another asteroid appliances, I guess we'll contact. And I'll check in with them later. Oh boy, I need to generate some power. I should probably analyze what is even using the power. I'm not certain why I would have been so down on power. Could be all these new printers. Maybe I'll start going into the habit of turning them off. Because I have a lot more stuff running now than I did before. So I'm gonna take a tiny break of the cryopod that I was working on and do a little bit of network analyzation. So I am using 3 kilowatts. Yeah, that's not great. Unless I expand my power production. But where is most of it going? Pressure regulator and back pressure regulator is 100 watts each. Mostly it's just like death by 1,000 cuts. It's like 10, 10, 10, 10 over and over and over again. The fridge is 250. Yeah, there is not one big source. So the pressure regulator and back pressure regulators are like 100 piece. But I can't point to a singular source that would be effective for me to phase out. Power expansion was an option to vote on, yes. That it was. Let me look again. A lot of this is just like 10 watts. And there's not really much to do about that. The condensation chamber is a bit, but not a lot. Yeah. And the new printers, if you're wondering, are more, if I'm not mistaken, up from their low-tech counterparts. So that's 100, I think. Maybe it is 100. I forget. Maybe it isn't changed. But, yep. I gotta be cognizant of my power intakes, because I'm not generating a ton of excess. Alright. Let's install the cryo. And then work on the plumbing. Oh, screwdriver. Yep. Can't say I've ever used a screwdriver to install glass, but sure. Alright, so opens, closes, pretty straightforward. I don't think we really need the data port on this, but I'll hook it up anyway. And then the... Oh. So one of the issues that we're going to run into is the... if I want to stasis myself, I need, like, liquid nitrogen, which is not what I'm doing here. So I'm really only doing the breathable. But I've actually forgotten, where does the output CO2 build up? It ends up in the chamber itself? Is that right? It ends up, like, in this pod part? Because I forget. It's been a while since I've used one. But yeah, normally you would get in... Oh, I can't get in with the jumpsuit, too? Rude. I have to be naked. Oh, and my tool belt, too? Fine, fine. You're really naked. Damn. But you would get into the cryopod... Oh, what? No, no. It doesn't have breathable... You get in like that, and I think the chamber itself builds up with CO2. Well, I'll have to tinker. So let's go hook up the plumbing for it. Oh, and my microwave. Right. So we just need to pipe in oxygen. Which is there. Chamber looks a little scary. Looks like something that Fry accidentally falls into and then teleports into the future. Leaving behind a very sad dog. I am going to save just in case I screw something up. I don't want to save scum, but you know. Oh, don't throw the helmet. Damn. I meant to just take it off, not huck it. Alright, lungs.
High pressure. Cognition low.
Cognition low? Why is my I don't trust cognition low. No, no. Don't. Why is my cognition low when I'm in there? I don't want you killing me. My Where is it? Tablet. It has, surprisingly, tempered oxygen. I kind of forgot about the whole tempered oxygen thing. Somehow or another, the tube's oxygen is cooler than the oxygen I'm feeding it with. Why is this thing killing me? You know, I did just save, and all my stuff's on the ground, so I'm going to commit to it.
Cognition low.
It really is knocking me unconscious, though.
Cognition critical. Cognition low.
I jumped out before it murdered me. So it builds up with internal CO2, so I know it needs CO2 filtering. But the CO2 levels in there aren't murder me worthy. It did shunt CO2 back into my O2 line, which I'll have to, like, filter out. But what I could do in this case is consider the goal done and just, like, fix it later. I'll have an answer for you next week. How's that sound? Thank you for tuning in to Stationeers Brutal Vulcan, which originally streamed live on Twitch. If you have any feedback or questions for me, let me know in the comments below. If you would like to catch a live stream of mine, Rodamont.com has my stream schedule and countdown timers to upcoming streams. If you'd like to join my online gaming community on Discord, Rodamont.com has a link to it, as does the description of this video. Thank you so very much for watching. Special thank you to my Twitch subscribers, Patreon patrons, and viewers like you that support the channel and made it all the way to the credits. Thank you so very much. I hope to catch you next episode or an upcoming stream. Farewell, my fellow Stationeer survivors.